Happy Friday, everybody. Sam Chlebowski here, tuning in from Motion.io. Really excited to have you with us today. I'll give folks here a couple minutes to file on in. But we have a fun week of updates for you. I'm here drinking coffee, ready to show you around what is new in Motion.io this week. If you're new, tuning in for the first time, we do these live streams every single Friday. Sometimes we switch up the topics, but a lot of times what I'm talking about is just what we released the past week, because we do release updates every single Wednesday, and we're going to be covering some of those. This has been a really exciting week for the team here at Motion.io. Some really powerful new automations and things that you can do with Motion.io. I'll be talking about all of them, covering everything here for you today live. As we go through the content of what I'll be sharing, please don't hesitate. Ask me questions, interrupt me, chime in, right in the chat. Whether you are watching on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, I will see the comments that you send in. So please go ahead and write in with your questions. I'll start it off by saying, hi, everyone. Beautiful day here in Denver, and you should all see that come across. Regardless of the platform you are tuning in on. And if you are watching, would love to see, watching this live, that is, would love to see you chime in with where you're tuning in from. So with that, let's go ahead and let's take a look at Motion.io's changelog for a quick update of the various things that we've released over the past week here. So I'm just going to pull up my screen here. And let's go ahead and hop in. So this past week, August 13th, probably the biggest thing that we've released and the most impactful, especially as you get up and going with Motion.io, is going to be this features that allows you to, we kind of wrap it up this week as like more powerful stage imports. But basically what this allows you to do, and what we've given you the ability to do now within Motion.io, is that you can now import entire stages with their existing automations. Previously, the way that stage imports work is you could import them into a project. So you could import a stage from one of your templates into a project you already had going, and it would bring in all of those tasks, all of the informations, but it didn't include the automations that came with them. So don't worry if this doesn't make any sense right now. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by this and show you some really cool things that you can do with this, some real practical sort of real world examples. Next up down the list, we have project progress tracker subscriptions. So clients in their portals now have the ability to subscribe to the progress tracker for a specific project and get immediate updates about things going on in that stage. So tasks that are completed, stages that are completed. We still send all of the normal notifications to clients, but this is really like an added layer. If it's an important project or there's a high priority stakeholder within a client's organization that you're working with, they can subscribe to project progress tracker updates, get those updates immediately. We also have a new on hold project status. This is especially useful if you have a project where everything's kind of wrapped up in it for the moment, and you don't want clients to see, to get reminder emails or portal notifications about those projects. Also works really well for projects where, like, hey, maybe there was just a circumstance outside of your control where that project needs to, be on hold for a little bit, and you don't want to bug those clients until they are ready to pick up work again. We've also made a big update to our CSV import functionality. If you'd used this in the past, you may have noticed that it was kind of slow, where you would wait, the CSV file would process, and it would just take a long time to import. So we've made this much faster now, some performance improvements there, and I'll show you how to use this. The CSV import functionality in Motion.io is really cool, especially if you're coming over to us and have an existing system in place and then want to bring in your sort of in-flight clients, your projects, recreate them in Motion.io. CSV imports allow you to do that in just a couple of minutes. So we also have a whole slew of bug fixes and improvements this past week. Some big ones is that you can now search by task title in the message center. And we've also added some things that make it a little bit more clear of like the default system fields available in Motion.io. And I'll show you what that means here at the end of the live stream today. But yeah, that really covers it for the big things that we released over this past week. And we will go ahead and kick it off here by, let's get right into it with talking about the first item on my list, which was the improvements we've made to stage imports. And the biggest one by far is the ability to import stages into your Motion.io projects with their automations. So to show you how this works, because totally understand it can be a little bit like unclear of, hey, what is Sam talking about? Unless I show you some real world examples. So I'm going to hop in to my Motion.io account here. And let's get right to it. So I am here in my account. And what I'm going to do here is you'll notice I have a whole bunch of templates in my Motion.io account. What I'm going to do is go into this web design template. And I want to show you kind of what I have going on here. So this is just one example. Obviously, your business may not do websites, but the examples I'll show are going to be really applicable to a wide range of businesses. So in my template here, I have in the onboarding stage a form that folks can fill out. And there's this question on the form that asks them if they are interested in our SEO services. So I have set up an automation here, and I built this out ahead of this live stream here today. But I've set up this automation that and let's actually go in to edit it. If on that onboarding form, somebody says yes to that question of, are you interested in our SEO services? It's going to import all of these stages based on an SEO project, and it will import those directly into the project. So, like I said, this is just one example of how you could use this. But it's really great if you do have like add-on services or additional things that people can purchase as a project progresses that you want to then bring into their current project without having to like start from scratch, create a new project for them. So even if you weren't, even to apply this to like a different industry, let's say that you are a software company and you have sort of a general onboarding portal that new users come in and, they complete the onboarding tasks. So you can get them implemented and activated. Let's say you also offer a more like hands-on sort of white glove implementation package that's a total done for you solution. If they select yes to a question that was like, would you like done for you onboarding and implementation, you could then import the various stages related to that service. And so I will actually go ahead and I'm going to show you a couple more things, and then I'm going to show you actually what this looks like when it's all operating. I also have a couple of other things that I've done in this project template that are worth pointing out. One of the cool new things that you can do within your templates is if you have team tasks, meaning things that are assigned internally, their internal work, whether or not you want to show those to the client in their portal to let them know you're working on, that's up to you. But what you can do now is you'll see this option here that says auto assign for team member tasks. And if you click that, what will happen is the task will be auto-assigned to the project owner. And this is designed specifically to solve a problem that folks were telling us about, where they often had projects where a different person should be assigned based on who is like the owner of that project. And what people were doing before we had this option to auto-assign the project owner is they were creating individual templates, so different templates for each potential person that could be the owner of that. With this new functionality, it brings you a step closer to not even needing separate templates and having a templates apply more universally, regardless of who's responsible for that specific project, regardless of who's responsible for that specific task. You're able to auto-assign the project owner at the time of project creation. So another cool thing in there. And that, I think, really does it for this template. So I'm going to actually go ahead and create a new project from my template here. I'm also going to delete this just test project, clean up my dashboard here a little bit. So I will create a project from my website redesign, and I'm just going to call this live stream example. Okay, create client project. And we're thinking there for a second. And cool, so I've created this project. Now I'm going to go in and let's add a client to this. So I'm just going to add, who's a good client here? Let's add Sunny Baker. Okay, I'm going to assign them to all tasks. And then I am going to activate this first task here for them to complete the onboarding form. And I'm going to quickly then just complete this on behalf of the client here, making sure that I am going to, and let's just pull up the portal view here. Sweet. So I'm here in my client's portal, going to quickly complete this onboarding task on their behalf. Just fill in a bunch of, actually, let's do Google.com, 1, 2, 3, Rocky Way. Sunny's Sando. So just quickly completing this form here and making sure that I'm going to select yes for this SEO services question, because that is what handles the importing of those additional stages. I won't fill out this fully, but just enough to give you an idea of what this is going to look like, sort of the interaction between the client. Just upload any kind of random files there. Okay, sweet. So that form is completed. Let's head back into my Motion.io project and let's see what happens here. So in the onboarding stage there, I completed this form. I also have that automation set up, which automatically activates this next task down, this signed contract task. But if I refresh here, allow the automation to run, you'll see that this automation that I had, if the SEO service is selected, import the SEO stages, that has ran. So if we go back to the tasks page, you will then see, awesome. For my SEO services, it's imported the onboarding tasks for that. It's imported the analytics setup and optimization, and then additional stage for sort of ongoing management and optimization. And we also had Shakya, I believe that's how you pronounce it, write in with a comment. Love the new progress tracker. Yes, thank you so much for pointing that out. That is something that is also included in this update. I'll be showing you a little bit more about what we changed there in just a little bit. Thanks for writing in. So these stages have imported, and you'll also notice that the tasks in the onboarding stage for the SEO services that I imported, these tasks, the tasks that I wanted activated are automatically activated. So the next question you might be wondering, or if you're even not, is, oh, Sam, how did you activate these tasks in this stage you imported? Because if you used Motion.io in the past, like I had mentioned very briefly earlier at the start of this live stream, this wasn't possible a couple of weeks ago, or even actually earlier this week. So the way that you'll set this up and make sure that you're able to import tasks, and those tasks, those stages you import get activated in sort of the sequence that you want, is all you have to do is create a separate template. So, and even to make this a little bit clearer, I'm going to just give this a quick naming convention. I'm going to call this stage imports, just to make it clear to anybody who might be just joining in that this is what I'm using to import into my other active projects. So if I go into the automations of this project, what you'll notice, and you're going to be able to use this anywhere, any type of project template, but we have a new trigger option in motion.io that you can fire when a stage is imported. So the way that that works is you can select if stage onboarding is imported, then activate stage onboarding. So it's a self-referencing sort of trigger and action where whenever the onboarding stage in this specific template I have is imported into somewhere else, we will automatically activate all of the tasks within that stage. So a really cool little quality of life thing there that just makes it a lot easier to make sure as a project evolves, you're activating things at the right time and you're not having to do it manually or keep track of what you're importing and when. The system can just handle it all automatically for you. And thanks for that clarification, Shakaya. Sorry, I took a guess. I also have a complicated last name. I take a stab at a name, and then sometimes I don't get it quite right. So thank you for the clarification on the pronunciation of your name. We do appreciate that. There was something else that I wanted to show you as well along the lines of sort of changes that we've made to templates, how things are activated, how things are fired. And to show you this, I'm going to go back into that website redesign template you saw me working from earlier. Just as a refresher, this is that sort of primary template where if a person responds yes to this SEO services question, we import the stages from that project template I just showed you. But one change we've made to templates overall, and this may seem minor at first, but is actually a really cool change for us. So previously, when you would create a task in a template, it would be activated, and when you would set a due date for those tasks, the due dates for them would be set based on the date of the project being created. So, for example, if I create with the way that it previously worked, if I would create a project from this template today, and I had a task that was set to have a due date of 7 days out, it would be next Friday that task would be activated. Not always ideal because timelines can change, and that means that the due dates are set automatically at the point of project creation. Now, when you create tasks in your motion.io templates, it's the days until a task is due upon activation. What this means is that if I set this to 7 and don't activate this task until next Friday, it would be due the following Friday. So it gives you a lot more flexibility of like, hey, instead of setting a due date at the time of the project being created, I want to set the due date for this task at the time it is activated. So really nice little improvement there that helps you just keep your timelines more on track and not have to adjust due dates as you go. So with that covers the bulk of the things that I wanted to talk about with our changes to importing stages into projects. And just to recap, what we talked about is the ability to import stages with their automations, so you can automatically activate things at the right time. And then I also showed you how to trigger automations on a stage import. I'll be doing a video within the next couple of weeks or so that provides a sort of complete run through of this and will give you additional ideas of what you can do with it. But the bulk of it is that this new functionality is especially useful for making things sort of conditional as a project changes and evolves, where you can, instead of creating tasks from scratch in an active project or importing things manually, you're able to do all of that with automations. One thing I did want to note that I actually just remembered is, in addition to being able to automate the importing of stages, you can also do it manually. So let's say I have this project and I wanted to import a stage, and I wanted to import my SEO services stages manually. I can do this as well in an in-flight project if I didn't have the automation set up ahead of time. And if I did this the same way it works with automations, when I import this onboarding stage, the automations that it has already, so if I have action set up to activate the tasks within this onboarding stage, they're going to automatically be pulled in along with the stage itself. So now that we've covered all of that, let's talk a little bit about our updates to the project progress tracker. And this was something called out in chat earlier, but I do want to show you because it's a pretty sweet update that we've made here. So I'm going to hop back into my account here. And let's take a look at the new project progress tracker. So I'm in the admin view here now, and I'm actually just going to clean up some of these just so you get a better idea of like what this looks like as the project progresses. Let me very quickly just create or just go into one of my sort of in-flight projects here. So with the way that the new project progress tracker works in Motion.io, I'm also going to clean up this task. I do a lot with this account here in terms of like testing things for people and setting up things for videos. So just wanted to clean this up a little bit so you get a better view of the project progress tracker. So this is the admin view, like I mentioned, but I want to actually go into what the client is going to see within the new project progress tracker. So to do that, I'm going to quickly open up just a view of a client's portal. This one will be for Mariah Moxie, who I'm running a digital advertising project with. Previously, the project progress tracker, it would just show the names of the stages here and wouldn't give you or the client insight into, hey, what are the things specifically that need to happen as the project progresses in each stage. So what we've done is that for any of your active stages here, you'll have little sort of bars within each stage that provide the name of each task. So for example, in this updates and maintenance stage I have going on, 2 of the tasks are completed, but the client can clearly see that, oh, hey, we have a task to design a landing page for them, as well as do some additional ad creative for them. And they know, because we've chosen to share these tasks with them in their portal, they also know that they're working on that we're working on that. One important thing to call out about the project progress tracker is that only things that are visible to the client in their portal are going to be shown here for them to access. So what does that mean for your management of a project if you have tasks that you are not showing to them? Well, a long story short is that anything that is hidden from a client in the portal, so for example, let me just hide this task quickly. If I choose to not show this to the client, this will no longer be reflected in the project progress tracker. This will remain internal. They won't see any of that. So you can safely hide things from your clients that are just internal driven processes or tasks that you don't want reflected in this tracker. And you'll see that this had 4 bars in it previously. Now that's down to 3 because I chose to hide that specific thing from my client. In a similar vein, if you would archive or hide a stage, so I'll archive this entire updates and maintenance stage, it will also get removed from the tracker, and you can see that right here. So would love to know everybody's thoughts about this new project progress tracker, sort of the updates that we've made there. Is it helpful? Do you think it's cool? Is it improvement on our previous version? Would love to hear from you. And like I always mention as well, if you have questions about other things inside the Motion.io platform, especially some of that stuff about the changes we've made to stage imports and automations, definitely write me in. I'm happy to cover some additional examples. If you have an idea of like, hey, could I do an automation like this for this specific use case or my specific type of business? Happy to get into the weeds with you. I hang out for this entire hour. Answer questions, show you around the platform. So please do not hesitate to write in with your comments and questions. So with that, we'll talk about a couple of other things within the changes that we have made to Motion.io this week. As promised, I did mention to cover 2 things with you here today that we haven't shown yet. And so the first is going to be our new on hold status for projects. And the way that you are able to use this new status is, and probably where I would recommend doing is just from the projects dashboard here, this list of all of your projects in Motion.io that contains filters, ways to sort between projects. If you select projects in your dashboard, you'll have the option to perform bulk actions on them. And under the set status bulk action, you now have the option to set a project as on hold. And then I can quickly go apply a quick filter and I can see, oh, how many on hold projects do I have? Okay, this one example project that I created earlier today. As a reminder, when you set a project to on hold, it's going to pause reminder emails and portal notifications to your clients, so you don't have to worry about bugging them until you are ready to set that project to active again. And the way that you do that is I could just once again click, and under the bulk actions, go ahead and set this to active. So really nice option there if you do have projects that you want to sort of move out of the way and be able to just have those sort of in their own folder until you're ready to activate them again. And I also see that Shakaya has written in definitely an improvement as it gives me and the client a visual of the project progress. Great to hear that you like the improvements we've made to the project progress tracker. Yeah, I think it's looking really good. A really nice improvement over our previous version there. So next up on our list, and one of the things I wanted to talk about is the improvements that we've made to Motion.io's CSV import functionality. So if you haven't used this feature before, the way that you access it is if you go to create project here, and whoops, realized I wasn't sharing my screen there, is if you go to the create project button here in the top of your screen and hit the drop down arrow, you have the ability to import a CSV. And we even have a nice little template here to get you started, which is a Google Drive that you can make a copy of and then use this as a template for your own CSV import. And I believe I actually have a spreadsheet here that I can import very quickly. And I'll just show you what this looks like now. CSV import, okay. So let me just find this here. Okay. So this test CSV, I'm going to go ahead and download this CSV from Google, from my Google Sheets. And now that I have that downloaded, head back into Motion.io. And I will click Upload CSV and then just drag my template into this project. And so when you import a CSV, you'll notice that you have the ability to set a project owner. So I can make this different for each person, or for each project. I could choose a different owner of those projects. And then one of the cool things now is, because we've given you the ability to auto assign the project owner to those internal team tasks, when you are importing a CSV, it can be really helpful to say, hey, who do I want on these projects? Because they'll be auto assigned if you configured your template correctly. They'll be auto assigned to those team tasks that you've selected. And I can also choose which specific template. So for this CSV import, I'm just going to go ahead, select that website redesign template you saw me working from earlier. If I wanted to, I could send the client welcome emails. I could also assign all of the project tasks to clients. So now, with the updates that we've made this week, as well as a couple of new updates that we've made over the past few months or so, basically you can create all of your projects all at once from a CSV, automate the assigning of team tasks and activation of team tasks, automate the assigning and activation of client tasks, as well as automate the importing of the various stages and things that you might want to add to the project as you go along the way. And you can do all of this simply by setting up your project template and then importing a CSV. So really useful functionality as you are migrating over to Motion.io. Or let's say, you have clients that you onboard in chunks. If you're doing like 25 a month, this CSV import functionality is going to be really great for handling so much of that manual work for you. And Shakai, I do see your comment about the single seat option. We'd be happy to work out something with you. I'll send you a DM after this on LinkedIn, because I see your LinkedIn right there. We do have an option there that I can tell you more about. So with that, I would love to know, based on what I've shown you here today, what other questions do you have about Motion.io? What are the things that you want to know? We can dive into anything, whether it's automations, whether it's talking about ways to use Motion.io and customize your client portals. Let me know. I'm here for another 30 minutes to answer anything you might want to learn about. With that, I'm going to show I want to talk a little bit, until those questions start rolling in, about the ability to add forms to portal tabs. This is something that I've shown, I did show off last week in one of our live streams, but is a really cool thing just to be aware of that you can do within Motion.io now. And why is this ability to add forms to portal tabs so cool, so helpful? Well, the reason is, and the crux of it, is that if you have a type of form that clients are going to need to submit again and again throughout a project, it's probably not best served to be in a task. For example, for things like onboarding forms, this is great in a task because a client's only going to complete their onboarding form once. After they complete it, I have that information. I can reference it. There isn't things that are going to be changing on this onboarding form. However, things like help desk tickets or support requests, as well as requests for additional work or services, that's a great example of something that you might like to ask a client in a form that you want them to be able to submit over and over again. So what you can do now within Motion.io is you have the ability to create a custom form and then add it to a portal tab. So what you see here in my website redesign template is I've created this new tab called Website Updates, and there's a form here that asks the client, hey, anytime that you have a change that you need made to your website, submit this form. What happens when they submit it is I have selected myself here as the assignee. And the reason why you have to select an assignee is that when a client submits a form that you embed into a portal tab, it's going to automatically create a task in your Motion.io project. And I can even specify a stage for tasks that are created when this form is submitted. So in my case, I have this stage called Site Updates and Maintenance that whenever a client submits the form that I've embedded, it's going to add a new task to this specific stage. So what does that look like in action? Well, I will go ahead and show you. I'm going to create a new project from this template that I've shown a couple of times today. And I'm going to call this portal forms example just to let us know kind of, what this is and what we're looking at here. Quickly, once again, just add a user to this project, add a client. I'm not going to worry about any of the tasks in here because I want to show you specifically what their client portal looks like with that form embedded. So I'm here in the client's project. Obviously, work hasn't kicked off, so there's nothing here in the tracker, nothing for them to do. But if I go to the website updates, I have this very basic form that asks them for the page URL. So I'll just write at motion.io about, please update our pictures. And then the client can even attach a quick picture, upload it. And then when the client goes ahead and submits this form, not only is it going to create a task for you and your team in the back end, but the client will also be able to see this task. And they'll have a clear understanding of, hey, okay, great, I submitted this, they're working on it, and we can collaborate, send updates about it as we go along. So this is a really useful piece of functionality. In this example, I'm using this for a client to request websites to their updates to their website. But you could also use this if you are a software company. Maybe you use this as your support form during the onboarding and implementation process. Maybe you use this and you set up different options of services clients can purchase and you add those into here. Whatever you do, the client will be able to have this sort of self-service hub within their platform. And I could add, I just have one portal tab with a form embedded, but you can add as many of these as you'd like. So if I wanted to have a website updates portal tab like I do, but I could also add on a just sort of general support request form or a general questions form into my portal that the client will be able to access at any time. And then looking back into our project from the admin side, what you'll see is just as expected, this task was created, I was assigned to it, and the task was automatically activated. So a really slick way to just add some more functionality to your portals, make things a sort of true self-service 24/7 hub. And we have a question that just came in. So I can send a potential prospect a form before I even book them. So yeah, absolutely. And there are a couple different ways that you might do this. One of the ways that I would probably suggest is if you are using your client portals with prospects before they enter, maybe a sales funnel or the rest of your sales process, what I would actually recommend for you there is instead of using an embedded portal form, I would actually just use a standard form embedded into a task. So let me just go ahead and I'll show you exactly how I might build this because I think that would be super helpful. So what you could do is I'll just create a new project here. I'm just going to call this prospecting. So if you wanted to, you could have an inquiry stage and I'll call this task inquiry. It'll be a client task, and attach a form. Let me see if I have one in here. I don't have a good form that I could use, but let me just actually go ahead and create one. I'll use our AI. I think it'd be just fun to show you the full process for this. So I'm going to go ahead and use our AI form builder. I'll say, please create me a new sales inquiry form for my consulting business. So prompted our AI to do that. Okay, sweet. This is good to go. I'm going to head back to my project, and I will create a task. I'll just call this tell us about yourself. Attach that form we created. And then what you could do is after they filled out this form, you could use it to activate other tasks like, schedule sales call. And other tasks like view complete integrations form if you wanted to ask them more about like the different integrations that they were interested in. So this gives you one way to do, I believe, what you're asking. The other way that you could automate this is if this is a form that the other way that you could do this is if you currently have a form on your website, you could use Zapier. So if you have that current Typeform form, you could actually use Zapier if you wanted to automatically create this project, invite the prospect, and then give them this space to sort of go through the sales process, a sales room for effect. So maybe you didn't even want this form here, and you wanted this form to or a version of it to live on your website. What you could do there, Shakaya, is you could even connect that current type form to Zapier and use it to kick off a project in Motion.io automatically. So you wouldn't even have to add the client. You could just wait for that inquiry to come in, and then automatically we would handle the rest for you. And that is a pretty cool thing that we have available within our Zapier integration. So let me just show you that quickly of what that looks like if you were to use your current type form. I'm just going to hop into Zapier here quick. Don't know why my internet's going so slow here. But I'm here in Zapier. And so what we could do in your use case is we could have a trigger that was type form. So new entry. So you would just configure this with that existing form on your site. And then you could use Motion.io's Zapier integration to do the rest of the heavy lifting for you. So you would select this create project action. And let me just connect this here really quick. And then within the configure tab, you would set this up so it's going to populate. You would choose your template. So I'll just choose that same template I've been working off of. You can even define a portal name based on the entry, set a project owner, and immediately assign all tasks to the client. So this would be a really great example of a workflow, I think, for you specifically. If you are wanting to just, hey, I don't want to change my process with how people enter our funnel, but I do want to integrate Motion.io in a way that kicks off the project automatically, activates the tasks for them to complete, and you can do all of that without having to make this big change to sort of the front end of your process. So great to hear that was helpful. I actually love showing off stuff like this. There's a ton of cool things that you can do with Motion.io's Zapier integration. We have a ton of different trigger and action options for really almost anything that you might want to do with our platform. So options to create tasks, to edit tasks, to find projects as well. Let's say further down in your process, I can show you some different trigger options here as well that might be helpful to know about. Is you could even trigger various things when a client is added or updated, when a chat message is received, a file is uploaded, a form is submitted. So a ton of cool stuff in here that enables you to really automate every single part of your customer journey. But I will say that the most popular way we see folks use our Zapier integration is going to be exactly what I just showed you, where, hey, a form is submitted, create a project. Another very, very common way that people will use an integration like this is if a contact is updated in their CRM. So for example, if you're using something like HubSpot, if a deal is marked as closed won, create a project in Motion.io to begin onboarding with that client or begin other parts of the sales process with that client. And to answer your question, yes, this live stream is going to be saved. All of our live streams go up immediately after each event is over. They go up on YouTube as well as Facebook and LinkedIn, but you can also check out our events page of our website, which I will include a link to here in the description, or sorry, in the chat. This page also houses all of our previous recordings if you want to check that out. Usually takes me an hour or two to update that after our live streams are done. But if you go to our YouTube channel at any time, all of these recordings are available. And I see we have a question from John Trapolsky. Good afternoon. Any plans to build in time tracking similar to Harvest? That is a great question. Thank you so much for writing in, John. We do. This is a high priority initiative on our roadmap. I can't share any dates or timelines there, but I will say that time tracking is something that's going to be coming to Motion.io. Something we've been thinking about a lot. We've been discussing a lot. And yes, to answer your question, it's been heavily requested by new and longtime customers alike. Something we will be doing. Also, that's the benefit you get for tuning into these live streams is I will give you behind the curtains and let you know about some stuff we have in the works. We don't have like a public release map that we share, but this is a great place to come and ask questions. Also request features, things that you're looking for, you're wanting to do in Motion.io. If I don't have a way for you to do that already, I'm able to log that as a feature request for our team to discuss. So yeah, thanks so much for writing in. And to wrap things up here, if anybody has any sort of last minute questions, things they want to learn about Motion.io, you got me here for another 10 minutes or so. Happy to even run over if there's other things we haven't covered that you would like to learn about. But in the meantime, just circle back on a couple of other things that we have released within the past few weeks, things that might be helpful for you to know about. A few weeks ago, we did a massive improvement to Motion.io's message center. And I see we have a feature request already, dark mode. Yeah, this has been heavily requested by a number of our users. It is something we're thinking about. It's not, I will be very opaque about this. It's not something that we're prioritizing at the moment, but it is on the roadmap, something we will be offering. But there are some higher priority things that we're working on right now, such as these automations that we released last week, such as working on scoping out time tracking and things like that. But I will make sure that we get that logged. It's been pretty heavily requested, so something that we already know that we will be doing. So to show you some of the improvements to Motion.io's message center, because I am seeing some new faces here in the live stream today, some new names, and you might not know about this. So in Motion.io, we have what we call the message center. What's really cool about this is in our message center, this brings in all of the comments on tasks, all of the chat messages that clients are sending you into one single space. So you can keep client project related communications out of your inbox and organized in Motion.io. So like I said, task comments, client chat messages, those all come into here, as well as if a client responds to an email that was sent by Motion.io, those will get inputted in here as well. So you don't have to worry about missing client communication or having that get messy in your inbox. Nope, we pull it in automatically. So we just redesigned the way that the message center works and give you really quick access to be able to look up specific projects, be able to flag conversations for follow-up, mark conversations as read, and also very quickly initiate new chats from this. So let's say that there's something you just thought of in a specific project. You could just click the project chat option up here, select what project you wanted to send a message in, and say, hey, we need this thing, or here's an update. And when you do this, it'll automatically go to the client's portal. They'll get a notification about this. They'll be able to see this in their portal and very quickly respond. We also do on the client portal side, give clients a notification of any new messages there. So some pretty cool updates to our message center functionality. Another thing here I'll show you just very quickly with the way that the message center works is, let me go ahead and go back to when there are comments on tasks that appear in the message center. You also have the option here up in the right-hand corner where you can surface details about the task that the client is commenting on. So in this case, this was a task that was created actually by a form, one of those forms that I showed you earlier where the client submits it and then a task gets created in Motion.io. But the client here added some additional information where they say, I attached a thumbnail I would like to use for this blog post. Thank you. And I responded, great, we'll get you a draft by the end of the week. But I'm able to quickly surface like what this comment actually meant and what it was related to by just expanding that task. And if I wanted to, I could even go directly to the task itself. And the same way that you can view the information about a task a client is commenting on in the message center, from both comments and, from both task comments and chat messages that you receive, you also have the ability to very quickly create a new task. So for example, here was a task where the client added some feedback on a video file that I sent them for review. Here's the video file, it's right there. I can see some of their comments here underneath. Let's say I wanted to create a task where I want to be able to log this feedback for either myself or my team. Instead of having to navigate out of the message center, go into the project and create that task, I can create a new task for myself or my team to complete just by clicking on this icon here that says create a new team task from this message. So I click that, I can fill out the details here, and that will go right to the project where this comment was originally sent. So a really quick way for just being able to sort of stay in your Motion.io inbox and the Motion.io message center, and makes it so that you don't have to keep bouncing around. You can come in first thing in the morning, knock out your new messages, set things that you need to follow up on, create new tasks from the messages that you've received before going on to the rest of your project management work, maybe using the tasks view to see what you have to do today. So that really does it for what I've got to cover in this live stream today. Hope you're enjoying these new updates. As always, you can stay updated with the things that we are releasing every single week by going to our changelog. I update this every single Wednesday when we release. And like it says right on the page, we release almost every Wednesday. And I actually just did a LinkedIn post about this. 90% of the time this year so far, we've released on a Wednesday. There have been just 3 weeks that we haven't missed so far, or that we've missed so far. So great success rate there. Stay updated. And then also, as a final reminder, I do these live streams every single Friday at this exact same time, 10:30 out here in Colorado. Looking forward to seeing you back again in the future, and hope you have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend. Take care, everybody. Sam Chlebowski from Motion.io signing off.